Back in the early 2000s, street racing was everywhere. Movies like The Fast and the Furious and shows like Pimp My Ride had blown up. Spiky-haired teens were blaring nu metal out of their Civics, and the culture of modding your ride was going mainstream. Need for Speed Underground was a snapshot of that time. My name is OneHip, and thanks for clicking on this video. I grew up playing the Xbox version of the game as a carefree teen with both of my hips, and I loved it. But do I still love it as a grown man with one hip and life responsibilities? Let's find out. For this video, I'm revisiting the PS2 version, using the PCSX2 emulator on PC. I forgot to enable the widescreen option about 3/4 of the way through my playthrough, so if you notice the footage looking a little stretched in some parts, that's why. Anyway, here's my retrospective of Need for Speed Underground. Let's go! Need for Speed Underground was released in November 2003 on PS2, GameCube and Windows, and it was developed by Black Box, the same folks who made the first 3 skate games. A Game Boy Advance version was developed by Pocketeers. The game marked a major shift for the Need for Speed series. Gone were the exotic supercars and countryside roads of Hot Pursuit and earlier titles. Instead, Underground doubled down on tuner culture, street cred, car magazines with lovely young ladies on the cover, and inner city circuits bathed in neon that was part of pop culture at the time. It felt fresh, rebellious, and alive with personality. After a brief PSA, a wicked intro video, and Little John and the East Side Boys blasting on the title screen, you're already locked in and good to go. The opening cinematic is still one of the coolest you'll see in a racing game, and even now, it still looks really good. After creating or loading your profile, you jump straight into the action. You'll spend most of your time in the game's career mode called Underground mode, but there's also single race where you can race with cars and tracks you've unlocked, and split screen multiplayer. You can also check your stats, customize vehicles you've unlocked in Underground mode, and at the time, play online. When you first play Underground mode, the game throws you into a 2-lap race driving a tricked out Honda Civic, which helps you get into the underground racing scene. You're introduced to the world by an aforementioned lovely young lady who acts as your guide, explaining the scene and helping you get your bearings. She's got that early 2000s assassin style, and while there is a story here, it is paper thin and mostly forgettable. This game isn't about narrative depth. Rather, it's about attitude and making it to the top of the scene. From there, you pick your first car. For the time I spent with the game, I went with the Mazda MX-5 and upgraded as I went along. Trading up my car upgraded my ride as the stakes rose and my rep increased. The gameplay and visuals, while great for the time, are a mixed bag today. At its core, Underground is an arcade racer. The handling is loose, the sense of speed is decent, and the game doesn't ask for precision. Instead, it asks for style. You drift around corners, nitrous your way down long straights, and try to keep the momentum flowing. Each race you win in Underground mode earns you performance upgrades, cosmetics, and eventually reputation. You can also earn style points for things like drafting opponents, finding shortcuts, driving clean sections, and drifting, among other things. You lose points for things like crashing into NPC vehicles. There's no open world here like in Underground 2, just a series of menus and race events across a fictional city drenched in rain, fog, and glowing traffic lights. You can pick your difficulty level for each event, and you get more cash the harder you go. Winning is the only option here, as there's no prizes for second or third, and you'll need to restart the event to try again. It can be a pain, as you could crash just before the finish line and be overtaken and have to start the race all over again, or have an opponent find that gusto to overtake you right at the end, which I'll touch on later. As a teen with tons of spare time, this would have been fine, but as a grown man with not much spare time on his hands, this weighs down the game. Sure, screwing up once or twice early in the race and catching up again might be alright, but if you do it at the end of an event or several times through the race, you'll be hitting that restart button a lot. Events unlock as you go, and you usually pick one of 2 or 3 options, but you have to complete them in order to progress to something like a tournament or time trial, which you must win to advance. Progression of unlocking visual and performance parts can take a while. At many points in the game, I had at least 15,000 or more in the bank, but not much to spend on, as I had to do more events and earn more style points to unlock certain items for the first time, or existing ones at higher levels. For example, it took over 3 hours of playing just to unlock mufflers. You can only have one car at a time, and if you want a better one, you need to trade in your current one for it. Thankfully, all of your upgrades transfer to the new one. I've seen other YouTubers mention this in their reviews of the game, but later in the campaign, the rubber banding from opponents would even make Nintendo blush. Sometimes you're close to finishing, and then your closest opponent will somehow find the speed to overtake you just before the finish line. And the fact that the game doesn't reward you for finishing second or third means, you guessed it, restarting the event all over again, even if you felt like you've done everything right. The AI can be pretty dumb as well, regularly driving into barricades or into NPC vehicles, which can sometimes be an advantage in events, but other times can screw up your run. Visually, Underground was striking in 2003. Every surface is reflective, every street is wet, and the game leans hard into its nighttime aesthetic. It's stylish, no doubt, but I found the levels to be very repetitive, and you would race through many variations of the same area multiple times. To be fair, you could understand the map and figure out when shortcuts would come up after a while, but the lack of variety in environments starts to drag, no pun intended, as you push deeper into the campaign. Almost every race looks like it takes place at 2 AM during a light drizzle, but to be fair, this is supposed to be illegal street racing. Still, the car models look great, the motion blur sells the speed, and the visual upgrades make your ride feel personal. You can deck out your car with spoilers, hoods, vinyl wrap, decals, and neon lights among many other things. And while it's mostly cosmetic, it gives the game a sense of progression and identity. The campaign is 111 events increasing in difficulty and variety. It's structured like a ladder. Win races and rank up, earn style points for rewards, unlock parts, improve your car, and repeat. There are a handful of race types. There's circuit, classic multi-lap races around closed tracks, sprints, point-to-point races with tight city navigation, drag races, straight line racing that requires manual gear shifting and quick reflexes to avoid traffic, drift, my favourite mode, scoring points by sliding through corners and chaining drifts, lap knockout, the driver to finish last in each lap is eliminated, and time trial, you beat the clock on familiar tracks. With time trials you beat, you get offered free upgrades like engine kits and custom hoods from forgettable side characters. There's also tournaments, a series of 3 to 4 events like circuits and drag races. The driver with the most points at the end wins. It's solid variety on paper, but the campaign does drag, no pun intended again. There's no real story beyond some light voiceovers and cutscenes. You're just climbing the rankings with little context or incentive beyond unlocking the next tier of upgrades. One thing Underground lacks is any real AI personality. Most rivals don't have faces but just generic names, and the very few you see in cutscenes or hear about in the story from other NPCs are very forgettable. They're just there to beat. Compared to Burnout's aggressive takedowns or Midnight Club's open-ended exploration, Underground starts to feel a little flat once the novelty of customization wears off. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching. I've covered everything so far from the Burnout franchise to Tony Hawk and EA Skate, and I've got more retrospectives and reviews coming soon. If you're enjoying this video, feel free to hit the like button, drop a comment, or subscribe so you don't miss out on new content. It helps the channel more than you know. Anyway, back to it. One of Underground's biggest selling points was customization, and in 2003, it was revolutionary. You could tweak every visual detail of your car. Hoods, rims, spoilers, neon, vinyls, decals, window tints, among many other things. It made your car feel like an extension of your identity, which was rare for racing games at the time. Performance upgrades are broken down into stages, covering everything from engine and suspension to nitrous and turbo systems, and what separates them are brands, which reinforces the tuner culture at the time. But here's the kicker, visual upgrades matter more than they should. Some events are locked behind your style rating, meaning you can't progress unless your car looks flashy enough. It's a cool idea thematically, but mechanically, it's shallow. You're not tuning your car for better lap times, rather you're dressing it up to impress the game. It's more aesthetics than engineering, and the game proudly leans into it. EA Tracks was in full swing here, and the Underground soundtrack is a time capsule of early 2000s youth culture. You've got artists like Rob Zombie, Nate Dogg, Lil Jon, and the Crystal Method all sharing space. It's chaotic, but effective. The soundtrack also introduced me to bands like Static X and Story of the Year, which I would listen to in my teenage years. The soundtrack is as loud, flashy, and over the top as the game itself, and it sells the tone perfectly. These weren't just background tracks, rather, they were part of the experience. The opening menu blasting Get Low was practically a mission statement. Whether you love or hate that era of music, it's hard to deny Underground absolutely nailed its vibe. Need for Speed Underground is one of those games that lives large in our memory, because it captured a moment in time. But looking back now, it's more style than substance, and it's not as good as you may remember. It doesn't offer much variety in its environments, the AI is dumb and basic, the progression system is very drawn out, and the gameplay loop can get repetitive very fast. Customization was groundbreaking, but only on the surface, and the campaign, while long, starts to feel like a grind about a third of the way in. But that's not to say it wasn't important. Underground reignited the Need for Speed franchise, it redefined street racing games, and introduced a generation of players to car culture. It paved the way for Underground 2, which will be my next and final retrospective in this series, and it even inspired future titles like Midnight Club 3 and Juiced. It just doesn't hold up quite as well as we remember, and that's perfectly okay. I'll still have those memories of me in my teen years, staying up late on a Saturday night in my room, playing this with a smile on my face the entire time. Thanks so much for watching. What are your memories of Need for Speed Underground? Did you grow up racing in neon-lit streets with Little John blasting in the background? Or did any of the game's issues cause you to hit the brakes on it? Let me know down in the comments. If you liked this video, consider giving it a like and subscribing for more retrospectives like this one. I've got more retrospectives and reviews on the way, both racing and non-racing. Also, check out my other retrospectives from franchises like Tony Hawk, Burnout, and Black Box's EA Skate. There's also channel memberships and my Ko-fi page if you want to support the channel further. But honestly, your time and support means the world to me. My name is OneHip, and you have a good one. Bye!